Hi guys, it's Nico. Today I'm going to show you a tournament game I played in the Latin American Championship just sort of last week. I was white in this game. My opponent is also sometimes makes YouTube videos of his tournament games. And because of that, I thought it would be nice for me to make a video of this one. I might even make another version in Spanish. And if he ends up talking about this game, then we can have two different people talking about the same game, and I will upload a link to it, to his review, if and when it happens. Anyway, I'm white in this game. This is a Joseki in the upper right that is pretty popular nowadays. I haven't seen very many Q players or any of my students doing it, but it's become common. It's sort of a standard pattern. Usually white will tanuki here, which I did, and we get to this position, and black plays here. And there's a lot of ways to continue from here. I chose this, and he played the first move that I'm not a huge fan of. I think probably if black was going to play that, he would probably just play there. Because if I play here, this is a very strange looking move. So I don't know if those two stones look very good together. There's something a little bit strange about black's shape. I would probably play here. There's a lot of variations where white invades here, but I think that black's extra strength here on this side will help with most of the possible fight. Well, that's not quite the way it works. It looks like this. Will help with most of the continuations in the fighting over here. So instead, black plays here. I go here, and here black played probably the first move that I think sort of started to color this game. I would have expected something like this to try and support this group while pressing on this one. Instead, black plays this move. I think black was maybe expecting something like this to support these stones. Maybe he could follow up this way, or maybe here, and if I defend here, we've got some kind of continuation where he supports these stones and surrounds me. But instead, I decided I was going to split him. Now, I showed this to one of my students, and they were a little surprised by this move. They said, well, black here, and I said, well, it's actually very easy for white to sacrifice this stone, right? It's not a big deal. Black's shape ends up horrendously bullied in some kind of empty triangle-related mess. Possibly I can do this first. It's very hard for black to find a good move here, and then this push, it makes it even worse. So, anyway, black didn't fall for this, but I think the black move, probably the right one, is just to extend here. Instead, black plays here, and I get this hane anyway. And the main point of this hane, I'm basically sacrificing this stone. I don't really care about it, you know. My main purpose here is to split the black position into two, primarily targeting this group. That group is absolutely never going to become weak or in danger, but I'm going to get sente moves against it. Particularly this one is sort of in a pain point. It's the spot that I was expecting black to play to begin with, and I get it. And I want to sort of just show a little bit of how painful this shape is, because white can, of course, cut at A, but also I can surround with a move like B. And probably if black plays this, I can still just surround, and I get pretty much a sente, nice, clean shape. So I understand why black resists here, but this is sort of the key point of this shape, is that black can't actually break through here. If black tries to just any sort of cutting sequence here, tries to fight or something, he's dying. These three stones are short on liberties. And black can try this kind of exchange first, but it doesn't help. He's still getting squeezed and short on liberties. So even though the white shape is not strictly connected, it's very hard for black to ever do anything here, because this shape is so bad, and it really showcases why this move is in such a pain point for black's structure. So anyway, black plays here at R17 to live. When I showed this to one of my students, he was talking about how he thought if you play this against a Q player, white's going to be answering with something like this or something like that. But honestly, black's already alive, and there's no need to reinforce these 3 stones because black's cutting sequences don't work. It's not that white's connected, but it's virtually the case. White's okay, right? So at this point, it's my turn, and I'm going to play Tanuki, because I don't think there's any danger of being cut. So the first idea that comes to mind, probably, I think for me and for most of my viewers or anyone else, is going to be something that looks like this. My issue with this pattern here, and anything related to this, is that black ends up building up this, this center framework, something on the left going on here. And if I play this, I'm sort of delegating the reduction of this area to this group. And if we look at this group, the head of this group is essentially the triangle stone. This is the stone that's most facing into here, and it's sitting right next to this cutting point. So it's not, this shape is doing a pretty good job in this direction, but over to the left, it's really not that strong of a shape. So I don't want to delegate the reduction of the left side to the shape. I don't really trust it to be strong enough in this direction. So instead, I played this move. This is generally, the shoulder hit is a move I like a lot. But I found that my student, when he saw this, thought it was very surprising. But the idea of this is just to make sure that I can reduce the left side with something other than this stone that's not quite strong enough for it. And also, this is sort of a pretty forcing move. Black comes up, I jump, black wedges, Atari here. This is a pretty common pattern nowadays. And at this point, I played this move. This move is focused on reduction over here. In retrospect, I kind of like this one a little better. Fundamentally, my group here is weak. This is pulling it back towards where all my strong stones are. It's also starting to build more of a moyo for myself. Instead, when I played here, mostly I'm a little worried black's going to come out here, and I'm going to have this weak group and this stone to deal with. Probably the right move in this position is going to be something like this. But me being me, I hate this. I really don't like to have to deal with this weak group on the left side. It looks... It's uncomfortable. So I'm more likely to just play out here and allow black this. This stone is not quite dead. I'm probably going to play, I don't know, something like this or like this. I don't know, more like this. This stone is not dead. If black's going to kill it, he needs to add another move, which is very slow. But if black doesn't do that, for instance, here's an example of one pattern where we can see white just living with the stone. So it's mostly, I'm not going to live with it now, but it's sort of black's going to have to add another move if he's actually capturing it, and I'm sort of okay with this kind of position. This is a kind of position I'm happy with. I'm a big fan of sacrificing stones and behaving in a way that's not super committal. So that's probably how I was going to handle it, but my opponent didn't do any of this. Instead, my opponent makes a move that sort of instantly gets him... It's not that he's losing after this move, but the position becomes very difficult to handle for black and usually easier for white. So black starts to look at this and sees sort of white building this large bottom right area. Now, the part of this area that where white has all of his weaknesses, there's a weak thing here, there's a weak thing here. So if black was going to break in, I think it would make a lot more sense to break in sort of around here. Instead, black comes in sort of to the heart of it. But the real problem here is that he's not addressing these weaknesses. Instead, he's fighting with the part of the group that's... with the part of the area where black's actually fairly strong. So what I do is I play here on the weaker side, so this move is supporting this part where I'm so weak. So black comes into the corner. I looked at a few variations when this happened. I was thinking of several things. There are probably a few of them where I read where it looks like maybe the corner dies, but it comes at the expense of strengthening this stone. And strengthening this stone, which is pointing at all of these weaknesses I have here and here, I thought that's just never acceptable. So I decided that it was just okay to let the corner live. This turns into something akin to a 3-3 invasion. You tend to see this often in this order. So let's move this white stone to here. And if black invades here, you often see this kind of thing, right? And this is exactly the same thing, just in a different move order. So black's going to live in the corner here as follows. And at this point, black threw in this move. I don't know if it's good or bad. It's something he threw in and then connects here. He did mention in review that he could cut here, but I think this is a very difficult part of the board for black to fight in. So I think it makes sense for black not to try and start the fight and just connect and allow white to connect as well. I don't know. The fight looks maybe possible, but I mean, the place where black really wants to fight is where white's weak, which is over here, right? Now, black does play here, but again, not quite at where the weaknesses are, so I get another move here reinforcing the weaknesses. And around here, I started to feel pretty good about this game, because for so long I'd been worried that black was going to come and slice through the shapes here. But instead, black's playing over on the wrong side, right basically next to where he just made me get really thick. So my thickness is going to be very useful for fighting. So black plays this move. At this point, I considered a few options. I ended up playing this one, which is the more aggressive attacking move, robbing black of the base. It is also possible maybe to play like this. The part I don't like about this is that I'm playing basically on the side where I'm strong, and it's leading black maybe through this gap here to attack the weaker parts of my group. Of course, it is very nice for white to be developing, this kind of thing. So it's maybe a possible way to play. But I'm still convinced I prefer the way I played it. It's not developing this quite as well, but it's allowing me to continue to play on this side when black fights, which is what black does. Black does come in here to fight. But this is a much more difficult fight than it used to be because I've already got the triangle stone and I've already started defending. So at this point, I play this move. I'm clearly splitting black's two groups, A and B. And I thought that black was committed to the B group and was going to defend it. Black comes out here instead, not directly defending B. And this is a key point for me. I think this is probably one of the two spots in this game where I spent a very long amount of time thinking about it. And fundamentally, I just made a decision here. I said that there is a variation here where I just swallow this, but black's coming out and is going to attack this group. And the decision that I came to is that if we just do this and I push like this and just keep going basically all the way here, I end up sacrificing this. And I looked at this and I said, you know what? I'm okay with this. This looks like a game I'm winning. So I just decided I was willing to sacrifice essentially this entire side of the board, if need be. Now, I'm not sure that side of the board is completely dead. Probably these stones are dead, but there might still be an invasion, probably right at C15. C15 is the spot that I've been looking at for a while for playing on the left side. It's not super easy to kill that. So I don't know if maybe I can still live there. But basically the decision was I'm willing to sack. So I made this push. And black decided he was not willing to sack, so he came out. Which I think is maybe reasonable, but I'm very happy to keep coming out because it means that sort of I don't have to sack them anymore. So black pushes one more time. I think black was maybe expecting me to play here and he was going to cut. And this is going to be a big messy fight. But I didn't do that. I just played here because I'm still on the same mindset that I'm willing to sack. I'm now ahead of black in the run to the center. So maybe I don't have to sack. It's also an easier position to sack from. But maybe I can block here and allow this cut. I think this cut's much easier to handle than the previous one. I don't have any Ataris here, and I got this nice shape. So there's that. I also maybe will just sack. Once again, now I'm actually one move faster in this direction. So it's a little slower for him to capture my left side. Also, he's added another stone here, which makes the right side even more valuable. So I thought that was pretty okay. Black jumps again. And this is another move I spent some time on. The first instinct I have here is this. But here's the main thing. The whole plan really was to win with this Moyo. And if I drive black into the Moyo, I find myself sort of committed to actually doing something really destructive to this group. If I want to win. Right? Primarily, I haven't actually reduced any of this yet. And here's the other thing. I thought that this group was probably a little strong because I have sort of something akin to a base here. So I didn't think I had to add a move like this to defend the group. It is nice. Like, there's a nice shape. I get to connect this stuff. But instead, I said, you know what? My plan is this Moyo. The Moyo's not super strong right now, so adding another move to the Moyo might actually make sense. This group's okay because of that base, so I played here. Black comes in here to defend, and I played this move. And when black pushes, I considered just playing this immediately. If black blocks, I get to cut, and it makes into a big mess. And if black plays here, I get to cut through like this. But there's something really committal, again, about all of this kind of fight. So instead, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to defend this. This move is still going to be available. There's no problem. So black jumps, and I played this move. And in retrospect, I think I actually regret this move. I think there's some Ajikeshi. I played here and black plays here, and I realize I'm not actually going to come here and capture these two stones. It's just not fast enough. There's more stuff to be done. This is the main body of the group anyway, which is why I came and played out here. And this is when I sort of realized that it might be Ajikeshi to make this exchange, because there are probably some variations here, not quite now, where I can actually wedge. And for instance, if black plays this, it's just something to take note of. This doesn't quite work now. I am getting captured here, but you know, we can mess around with this variation a little bit. Like maybe I could try this and then do it. Then he cuts, and there's a bit of a fight. None of this stuff quite works right now, but if I actually get to wedge and, for instance, cut off the center or something like that, it could be really powerful. So making this exchange might be Ajikeshi. Anyway, I play here. I'm just continuing the same plan. And black plays out here. And when black plays here, this is when I made the decision that I thought that probably the attack was sort of over. I'd claimed this. And I just thought that black was too close to this strong stuff over here for me to directly keep pressuring, right? Like if I just do this and he comes out, I'm actually sort of moving him towards where I have this weak stuff. I could try and play on this side, but this is not actually very severe. It's not doing very much. But I did think for a little bit about this. I said, well, first off, I want to reduce the left side. And second off, if I get some extra stones on the left side, maybe the idea of driving him into those stones, the attack could come back. So that's why I played this move. It's a move I've been thinking of for a while. Some of the possible variations, for instance, if black just defends the side, I play something like this. And then at this point, if I try to attack with something here or something, I'm driving him in towards these new stones, and it's become a little bit dangerous for the black group. So it probably makes a lot of sense for black not to defend that way, and instead just play here. And I pane here because it's free, and here's another point where the student I showed this to was a little surprised that I just didn't defend these stones. I played these two moves because they're sente. And after I play them, coming out here is gote, and I thought, well, I could also defend this way, but none of that actually seems to make sense. I instead decided that I don't have anything super severe against his group, so I played this move, which looks like it's an attack, but it's not completely an attack. It's mostly a contact move. I am hoping black is going to make some kinds of exchanges like this, and helping me defend and make the left side almost automatically. Like, I don't have to add another move here. It's not possible for black to ever make any real points on the left side after I get all these extra stones facing it, which was sort of the plan. And black, who's a reasonably strong player, he realized that he doesn't want to keep making any exchanges here. So instead he tries to live with this and this. And this looks pretty reasonable to me. And since I didn't get any extra stones here, I said, well, okay, I guess I'm going to be playing on the left side. And the move I played on the left side was this one. I'm not sure about this move in retrospect. I think the entire time I was overestimating the strength of this white group here. I did not see the move that black is going to show me for it. So, for instance, if black cuts here, my plan was just to find life here as like such. And I just thought this group was fine. It wasn't actually getting hurt by the fact that black was surrounding it like this. Now black instead just went for it, and this is the move that I missed. And it probably would be kind of dangerous for me if black had cut first and I'd gone for that variation. He told me after the game that he thought that if he cut, I was just going to sacrifice the 2 stones, which is probably the right choice, but if that's the case, then probably this move isn't the right one. Maybe I could try this one, or right there, here, something like that on the left side. Anyway, I play here and black wedges. This is the strongest move black plays in this game. The timing seems to not quite be right. He messed this fight attack up. But there is sort of a feeling, and this is something I just sort of have about this whole game, that once white starts this attack here, this whole game is just very unpleasant for black to play. Because black's trying to handle this weak group while white's just claiming the right side, and there's really nothing black gets to do about it because his group is too weak. And there's hardly any way to fight back. White's too strong here. White seems to be strong here. So black's just sort of not really trying to win, but just trying to not lose right now. Which is just a horrible way to play a game of Go. You just never want to play a game this way. And because of that, there's this feeling for black that he's got to try something. So he goes for it. He doesn't wait for there to be a better chance for white to be a little thinner. He just shot his shot. He's also in Byoyomi at this point. So I played this Atari, black connects, and I play here, and black cuts. And this is where I took the deepest read of the game, because I have sort of an emergency button here. I can give this Atari and cut, and when black plays here, I connect underneath. And I'm alive here, but it does mean that now black's going to have something against this group. And I thought about this for a while and decided that this was not necessary. I didn't need this kind of emergency measure. So instead, I come out here, black connects, I Atari here, black connects, and I play here. And here, black also used up at least one of his Byoyomis because he was reading basically the same patterns that I was. We were all looking at this. And I basically decided that white's not dying here. White's alive, and if white's alive, then black's in really, really dire straits. So he decided that we're just capturing this, and I'm taking this. And you might notice that this group here is being attacked, same as it was in the variation which I showed earlier. This one, right? The pattern, the shape that black has against this group is the same. But the difference in the game is that I've captured these stones in exchange. So it makes it much easier for me, for instance, to sacrifice these 4 stones. Because they just come sort of as a trade for this. So if I was winning before, I'm winning after. Whereas in the other variation, I very well might sacrifice these 4 stones as well, but it's more painful. It seems like I don't have a clear gain in exchange for it. It's just pure profit for black to eat them. So that's the way this worked. And I think black sort of made the same decision, because he didn't play this. I think if black plays this, I'm just going to play here. And I'm just going to live on the left side and claim victory. So black instead does what I think is the sensible choice. It just doesn't work. And he goes for the whole group. He's going for the whole group. He's trying to really attack white. And hoping that this attack is going to give him something real. Unfortunately, one of the other big differences between this variation and the compromise variation I showed earlier is that in the compromise variation, black's basically alive here at the center. Whereas in this variation, as we played in the game, let's go here, this is not fully alive yet. So he's striking here with a group that, well, that's not the case. This is what we're talking about. He's striking here with a group that's not super strong. So I just defend in probably the most obvious way. And we Hane, and he counter Hanes, and at this point is when we really want to start to look at, it might look like white's in danger, but you have to look a little bit at the shape of the group that's attacking it. You might notice that there's a lot of gaps and holes in it. So, standard thing I like to tell my students, the most important defensive resource you have is the opponent's weakness. And this is when I decided to use that resource, and I cut. So black Atari's here, and then at this point he realizes, we can all realize that if black doesn't do something, these 3 stones are going to be captured and the attack's over. So black comes out this way. This might not be the right move. We'll have to... I don't know what the right move is. It turns out black's shape is just really badly beaten up here, so it's not clear that there is a right shape. So he comes out here, and this allows me to play this and this. And when black exchanges here, this is a really good example of a technique I like to talk about with my students very frequently. So white can just live by playing here. And if I do this, this is almost certainly enough to win the game. And I want to point out that this is absolutely my intention. I am going to play this move, and I'm going to live on the left side. However, this is a purely defensive move. And something I like to talk about is what happens when you're about to play a purely defensive move. So essentially, right before you do something that only defends and that gets things nice and safe, this is a very good time to look for forcing moves. So, for instance, if I just play here and live, one of the things that happens is that these black stones stop being nearly so valuable. It's easier for black to maybe sacrifice them if I'm already alive. But before I'm alive, he doesn't want to sacrifice them because they're threatening my group. So this is why I make this forcing move first. And black makes a pretty substantial blunder here. And I counter-blundered because I had just filled in my head that he was going to play something like this. Instead of that, black just does this, and I didn't even realize at the time that this move is so strong. This is a very strong move. Black is in real trouble. But instead, I just pushed here, which was sort of me reading this. And basically the idea is black's going to fix somehow here, and when I play here, there's 2 cuts. And black's in some trouble. My plan here, if black connects, I'm not actually going to cut and try to kill this. That's not actually what I'm going to do, because I'm still not alive on the left. So my plan was probably just to connect here, force black to connect, and then live. And then there's some additional stuff still with the shape of these stones and stuff like that. And I was happy to have managed to seal some of the holes in the left side and the right side by doing that. But instead, black plays this move, and when I play here, black completely blunders by playing this. So I cut here, and black, when he realizes that this cut is Atari, just resigns, because there's a very good chance, if we just follow through here, You know, for instance, like this first, and then say I just connect here. There's a good chance that this entire thing in the center is dying. And even if not, there's just no way that he's getting any kind of counterattack on anything. In particular, after these exchanges, for instance, let's just assume that I play this the most peaceful way possible. This move becomes Sente, right? If black comes out here, then he is dying with this. So, this is a really untenable position, which is why black resigns at this moment. The techniques in this game that I thought were sort of key, the key parts of this game, is black choosing to fight in the part of the board where I'm not weak, instead of the part where I am weak. I think this is the right move. Exactly how this plays out, I could maybe deal with this. I'm not sure if that would be the way I would play it. It sort of feels at this point like one of the ways I like to handle this kind of position. I like to leave this kind of stones that I'm not fully committed to, and then make it hard for black to eat them. All I'm really trying to do here is make some kind of life on the left. Possibly sacrificing these stones in the process, but not actually sacrificing their purpose, which is the reduction of the left side. So this is a kind of move that feels like my style. But there's a lot of other ways this can work. But anyway, I think the key is black, regardless of exactly what moves it follows, black's entire plan starting here is fighting in this part of the board, which is one of the parts of the board where white is strongest, and probably the worst place to fight. So this sort of self-inflicted, ending up with the weak group running through the center of the board just by fighting in the wrong place. Hopefully that's interesting and instructive to you. I wish you all the best. Maybe one more thing I could say about this. I do remember my student asked about it. He thought, this very loose shape, what happens if black just cuts? And of course, the plan if black cuts is I'm going to sacrifice most of the stones involved. In fact, this move is not actually defending any of the triangle stones. It's defending the purpose of the stones, which was sort of to build up the right side and to reduce the left. So for instance, if black cuts, the plan is I'm actually going to probably sacrifice, in some variations, all three of these stones. So it starts with this Atari and I squeeze like hell. If black captures, this is even worse, so he's probably going to extend, at which point I'm connecting this way. And if black cuts here, I'm just sacrificing that stone too. That's all that's going on. We get to go like this, probably all the way to here. And we can see that white's still reducing the left and still building up the right, even without any of the three initial stones that were played in this purpose. And so one of the ways I like to describe this, this move is defending the group, not the stones. Right? Fundamentally, this is all the same group, and white's group is in very good shape. Right? It's a very healthy group that was properly and successfully defended, even if the stones in the group were not. Right? So this is sort of a good way of sort of high-level thinking about the game. We want to think about the game in terms of groups rather than stones. And this is defending the white group. It's not defending the white stones. The stones don't matter. The group matters. And there's the other variation, which I showed here, and it's going to end up similarly if black cuts. It's going to look like this. And once again... Whoops, here we go. And once again, I'm just willing to sacrifice basically most everything in exchange for this nice shape. I'm thinking there's at least one other thing that he asked about. He mentioned, he mentioned sort of at some point later in this game that this cut's always available, basically until the end. And he said that if you're expecting a cube play level game, that he's expecting someone's going to take this stone. But it's not meaningful. There's no value in the stone. So that's a lot of the point, right, is to focus on the important part of the fight. And not really worry about the stuff that sort of extra loose stones. There is at least one variation in this game, which I already showed you, where I was willing to throw away literally all of it. It didn't happen, but it was certainly part of the plan. And even here, for instance, if black keeps going, I'm probably doing it. Right? I'm probably just sacrificing the whole thing and claiming the right side. So being willing to make this kind of exchange and identifying what the actual purpose of the stones are is a good part of the strategy. Hopefully this was instructive to you. I'll see you at a later time. Thanks, and bye-bye.